Okay, everybody, I'm so excited today to talk to somebody that is so like many of us. She wears so many hats. She's a mom, she's a wife, and she's also a principal of a school. She'd like to call herself an educator, but she's really like a principal of a school. And now she is an author of one of Amazon's top 100. She's like a bestseller in Amazon's books. So for children's literature, I'm so honored to have her here. She's amazing. She's humble. She's sweet. And I just love her spirit. So I want to recognize and introduce Rediesha Allen. Hey, Rediesha.
Hey, hey. Thank you so much, Sean, for having me on. Um, Gosh, it's so crazy. And I continue to say that it's just crazy how things have happened so fast. Like you said, I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I am a wife to an amazing husband, nearly 13 years of marriage. We have two young girls, ages 6 and 9. Um, and I have the best little family. I love them so much. I am an educator. I've been in education for 16 years. And yes, I'm a principal, but I've been an educator longer than I've been a leader of a school. Um, and I love what I do, impacting the lives of children every day, every single day. And now an author, which happened actually through my husband. I knew the CEO of Melanin Origins, and we all went to church together, but he and my husband kept in touch, just as brothers in Christ, right? And would encourage each other. And he approached my husband and said, "Hey, I want your wife to write this book." And my husband Akil came home. He's like, "Hey, Louis wants you to write a book." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fold clothes, get things ready, whatever. We'll have time for that." Is what I'm thinking in my head, but I'm like, "Okay, babe." And so then all of a sudden there was a conference call. And, we talked about the All in All series and how was a Bible series for children. And my Bible character would be Elisha. And I was like, okay, I've read about Elisha before. And then I kind of tabled it, went back to life. And then an email came in. "Hey, how's your planning going? How's your manuscript going?" I'm like, "Ooh, manuscript. Okay, this is serious," and really started to dig in my devotion and Bible reading and began to research more because as a Christ follower, right? And Sunday school attendee, you hear about Bible characters, but Elisha, people don't really stick on Elisha a lot. You hear about him in relation to Elijah, but it's just like he was a follower and then he kind of took over, is what I learned as a child. But as I dug into his story and the history and what he did and how he carried out the mission of his leader and his leader who followed God, that he was able to do many great things in the name of God and to encourage so many people. And so I was encouraged even in writing the book. And I'm excited to have this project out. It's the second release from the All in All series, but I'm so incredibly excited to get it out into the hands of children all over the world.
That's, I think here I I think just when we talk about like biblical stories and it's just so incredible how so many of the stories have something to do with things that we need to develop as human beings. And so one of the things about your book is that it talks about gentleness and self-control. So what is it that you think that we can do? Like, how does this book work? Like when you're trying to talk to a kid and you're reading the story, how does this apply to today's culture?
Yeah, that's good. So The Bible teaches us that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Okay. And that these are the fruits that we should bear. Okay. That each of us is a tree, and that we bear fruit, just like a tree bears fruit. We bear fruit, and we don't bear apples and oranges, as you related to children and even adults. We bear the fruits of the Spirit, and that those fruits are given to us by God. And that is how people know of his love. We don't bear fruits of wrath. We don't bear fruits of anger. Now, yes, those things creep up, but our escape, as the Bible says, is to adopt and to show the fruits of the Spirit. And so Elisha, the book Elisha, speaks on gentleness and self-control, right? And so let's just think about in our world today, like if we just stopped at those two, and if people could stop and dwell on gentleness and self-control. Okay, think about our workplaces, think about our relationships, think about what's going on in our world, race relations, even as we look at our news, gentleness and self-control, right? The way I met you was through the Sugar Summit, and you talked about the lack of self-control that we have as it pertains to sugar consumption and things that turn into sugar. See, I've been paying attention, Sean. And if I could have learned as a child that gentleness and self-control, being gentle with myself, being gentle to others, I wouldn't struggle with some of the things that I struggle with today. And so as a parent of two young children and as a leader of an elementary school, operating in gentleness and self-control, because it's not just our words, it's our actions, right? If children can see that in us, if they can read that this man of God traveled around the world in this country and he operated in gentleness and self-control, even when it came to Naaman. Naaman came, he had sores all over his body. Naaman he was of another ethnicity. He was from another country. He didn't look like him, but he needed help. And Elisha operated in gentleness and self-control and said, okay, God is telling me to tell you to go dip 7 times in the Jordan River and you'll be clean. Just like that, you'll be healed. And this man was able to do that. Now think about the stories that he'll tell. Think about the soldiers who watched on to see, oh, he's tricking him because we're of a different, ethnicity, different religion, different following. But no, he did it. And those sorts of seeds are planted, and then fruits of the Spirit begin to show in other people. And so, although this is a book for children 2nd grades and under, it's for everybody. It's for everybody. And if we could operate in gentleness and self-control, our world would be different. It'd be different.
Yeah, so another thing too about the book is, I think we struggle as people of color to find books that represent our stories. Yeah. And so immediately when I saw your book, I was like, wow, the cover, the pages, the color of the skin, I think that made more of the words come alive for me. What do you think about how important is it for us to have like this diverse literature, this diverse background of literature for us to choose from? How important is that?
Absolutely, it's so important. Okay, so representation matters. We've heard that a lot recently, but many times as children, the first time they're to people of color in books is that they were slaves. And we can hear our own music and hear about how great we are. We can hear stories from our family members and hear how great we are. We can be told and affirm ourselves daily. You are great. You are your own person. You can be calm in frustrating situations. Your Black is beautiful. But when you open a book, it's that we were slaves and we were brought over here. And it's like, oh no. And then as you learn more, you're like, okay, well, we were enslaved, and you hear all these things, but we are kings and queens. Okay. And in history, we were kings and queens. We were rulers. We owned. We didn't loan, or we did loan. We didn't take out loans. We were the people who were leaders. And so for our children to see Bible characters that look like them, okay? And so nothing against anyone else, because they believe that their representation mattered as well, okay? And so we believe it too, that when our children see Bible characters that look like them, it stamps their understanding in a different way. And it allows them to identify in ways that other Bible stories or Bible literature couldn't. Okay. And so when you see Elisha and you see the woman with the jars who needed money to feed her children and to pay off a debt, that her husband, who's now gone, she has to pay this debt, and she looks like your mom. She looks like my mom. She looks like my teacher, or the worker that I may see at a store. Is like, oh, wow, this is my book. This is a book for me. Somebody thought enough of me to create literature that looked like me. And so we can't just limit ourselves and our children to allow the world to tell them who they were. We have to create literature that tells them who they are and who they were and who their ancestors were, so that they can carry that legacy on into their futures.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. I was thinking too, one of the things that I kind of pulled from just reading was just how we struggle to have our names correct in public, because we were dealing with Elijah and Elisha, right? Mm-hmm. And I have a name, Cassandra, and I'll hear Cassandra, I'll hear. So what I've done over time is I started saying, my name is Shun, so that everybody could get it correct. So I was just wondering what you thought about, how, did you see or feel that when you were writing that we are struggling with names and like what we would like to be called in public? And did you see that parallel when you were writing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So being a Rediesha myself, I've been called so many other things, even in college. I went to the University of Texas at Austin, okay? And so where less than 10% of the people who attend look like me. And so for me, it was like a small high school, the people who went to UT, but people couldn't get my name right. So I went by Red. And even until this day, all my, my college friends, they're like Red, and they're like, wait, you're not light skinned, you don't have red hair. It's like, no, that's the first 3 letters of my name. And no one could get it right. So I just went by Red. And as I wrote the book, I actually, and the CEO will tell you this, I actually wrote another book about Elisha, and I turned him into a little boy named Eli, and he had the characteristics of Elisha. And I won't tell you the story because maybe it'll come out, for our older grades, upper grades, but I changed it. And I remember the CEO coming and saying, we got to focus on Elisha. Like they have to know Elisha, stick to the Bible story and what he did and how he traveled through. And the importance of it, yes, he followed a man named Elijah, right? And he studied his teachings. And yes, his name is Elisha. And sometimes people mix them up, right? But so should it be about followers of Christ, right? We should look so much like Christ. We should look so much like God that people almost begin to call us, and see God in us so much that they confuse the two. Okay, now, yes, God is God. Okay, don't ever call me God. But I just thought it was interesting that in even my learnings of Elisha, that I had sometimes confused it because he embodied so much of his leader, Elijah. So there were some struggles in the beginning, but for all the people, the Redieshas, for all the Cassandras, I was like, no, it is important that we identify and we know his name, Elisha, and what he stood for and how we can carry it on.
One of the other things too that I pulled up was there was this really strong presence of the need for mentorship. And like sometimes we struggle because we don't have people in front of us who are perhaps doing the things that we want to do or hope to do in the future. So I know that story is a lot about gentleness and self-control, but what are your thoughts about like mentorship in that way? And like how important is it?
Oh, absolutely. My pastor always says, don't tell me who you're leading, tell me who you're following, right? And so we can aspire to do great things, right? But until we look at kind of like a manuscript, until we follow a guide or at least research, we can never know a great starting point, because where we may want to start is not the starting point of those who have come before us, right? So absolutely mentorship. I have someone who I follow and I have someone I'm leading, okay, in every area of my life, in my marriage, in my parenthood, as a principal, as a woman, someone that I'm following. I'm not comparing, not chasing, but I'm following. And then someone that I'm leading. Also in this book, you notice Elisha was minding his business. And I don't say that as a like, I'm not caring about, no, he was minding his business. His business was tending to oxen, and he was found by the person who would lead him. Okay. And so he wasn't searching, he was tending to his business, he was minding his business. And so that also spoke to me about staying in what God has called me to, right? Following the journey. Everybody else can be doing great. I may not be called to this one path. I may not be, but in this path, this is where I'm called to. And when I'm minding my own business, right? Tending to my sheep, tending to my oxen, rather, then I find Sean Foreman. I find Sean Foreman at the Sugar Summit, and we connect, and we find out that there are so many other ways that our lives connect, so many other ways that our paths have crossed before we even met each other. Minding my own business, doing what God has called me to, allow me to meet you. And so that's another lesson that our children can learn. You don't have to seek to be in the popular crowd. It'll find you, and you'll be popular in your own way. You'll be great in your own way. Gosh, and I can't tell you how that resonates, even in my household right now, with my girls. I see so much greatness in them. And I'm like, don't compare yourself to that person. Gosh, you're amazing, just mind your own business, stay in your own lane, and it will find you. It'll find you.
Oh, this is good. I'm gonna throw one out there on you.
Okay.
So this is because so much of like how we met and why we're together and why we connect with each other has a lot to do with I think the unlikelihood of us producing anything good or great, right?
Oh.
So tell me this, like, talk to the person who feels like it's unlikely that they can achieve a goal.
My Lord. Oh, Sean, you're bowling down my lane, sister. You're down my lane. Okay, so I'm going to tell my story. Okay, so I was born to a mother and father who were 15 and 17 when I was born. Okay, they were best friends, met in the church, loved each other a lot, and got married when they were 18 and 20, 21. And last weekend celebrated 34 years of marriage. Okay. When I look back over my life, okay, I should not have been here. My mother did not find out she was pregnant with me until she was around 6 months. And the way she describes it, she said, Rediesha, I was wearing high-waisted jeans. My stomach was flat. And I went to the doctor. My mama took me because I was having stomach pain. And the day after she found out she was pregnant, her stomach came out like no other. She couldn't fit her clothes. She couldn't fit anything. But I was in there. And 3.5 months after that, I was born. Okay. my story shouldn't be what it is. Okay. My life shouldn't even be here. Right. And I say often, he saved me for this. He saved me for the journey that I'm on. He saved me for the things that I am doing even now. He saved me to see the things that I see now. He saved me for my children. He saved me for my career. He saved me for this moment, right? And to the person who's like, man, right now in the valley, it seems bleak, you know? I don't know the purpose of my life. Nobody wants me around. Okay. And I won't mention the family members who were like, to my mom, you got to go take care of that. But her pregnancy was too far along to do it. Okay. And of course, now, no harm. Some of the, people who are in my corner and love me and have loved me for all of my life, right? But just trying to protect my mom as a 15-year-old. They didn't know what else to do, but I'm here because God saved me for this. Okay. And in the valley that you are in right now, he's saving you for something. The Bible says in Galatians 5:13 that we are called to freedom. Okay. But not for our flesh. We're called for freedom, for the opportunity to show others through our service. Right. And so in the areas that he has saved me, then I can go and tell someone else, maybe even a teenage mother, there's a plan for your baby. There are no mistakes, even in maybe a marriage, that maybe something, God has a plan, even in the valley, because we don't get to the hill without going through the valley. Okay. And I don't want to sound too churchy, I don't want to preach. That's not my calling either. I'm a teacher, but I will say that in every moment of my life, God saved me for it. He called me to it. And for those who may be struggling, God is calling you to freedom. It's not for you to gloat. It's not for you to just say, yeah, I did it, but to the glory of God, so that you can serve others, so that they can see freedom as well.
Sister, I mean, I'm just like, oh my, let me pull myself together. I think that's what this is all about, though. When we when we have these conversations, it's really, if it were about us, clearly we wouldn't be here, right? If it were about me, I could find so many other things to do, but it really is about us trying to motivate other people to have what you call like the freedom, of life, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Oh, okay. I just want to end by telling you thank you.
Wow.
Thank you for your work as an educator, then turned leader. I know the struggle of raising two kids, two girls, it's a beautiful thing. But it's also when you see the little yous asking you questions, but also looking up to you and trying to become little women because they're informed by who you are. So, and just thank you for just being a great wife. You talk a lot about your husband, and I know that means everything, but you, just to write a book and put your words out there is so meaningful to us. It's so meaningful to us. And like one of the things that I said about your book was, and I don't have grandkids and I don't need grandkids right now, and I don't want grandkids right now, but I do hope to have grandkids one day. But I immediately ordered the book with the thought of like, one day I'll get to read this book to my grandkids. So I just wanted to tell you thank you. And I love you and I appreciate the work that you are doing and that you've put out there. And we'll end with your words. We'll end with your words.
Well, I say thank you to you, my sister. Thank you because you stepped out to tell people about your passion and your research and to educate our people. And that's how I found you. And in ways, your research is saving me so that I can enjoy the life that God is creating for me. So thank you so much. I'm avoiding high fructose corn syrup. So I'm avoiding it. I'm avoiding it. I had a little headache day one, but I'm doing better. I'm doing better. But no, thank you. Thank you to every single person who will view this.
How can they find you? And when will the book be released?
Okay. So the book will be released October 22nd. It is available right now for pre-order on Amazon. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Forever I Do DFW. Okay, it is a page of my husband and I share for our marriage ministry, and it's Forever I Do DFW. And that is how you can connect with me. I am excited to connect with you and to see pictures of your children, your grandchildren, even you reading the book. Even at bedtime, there's a nighttime prayer back there about how they can show gentleness and self-control through their actions. And so I'm excited to connect with you. This is the second series of the All in All series. The first release was Abraham. And so that is another book you can also purchase on Amazon even now. So thank you all for your support. I really appreciate it. Really do.
All right. That was awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. I love you.
Love you too.